Welcome to the Mindful Man Project, where we discuss issues, wins, losses, and learnings of men today. We leave no stone unturned, no avenue unexplored. For the time is now for men across the globe to take stock, to know who they are, to stand in their power, to guide those men coming behind us into the future. Creating a world that our children and our children's children will thrive and flourish, as we have done the work before them. I'm your host, Tyson Venables. Welcome. On today's episode, I have Eddie Van Dongen, a dynamic individual whose journey through life has been a harmonious blend of mindfulness, movement, and mentorship. As a co-owner of the Zen Caravan alongside his partner Joy, Eddie has embarked on a global adventure, sharing his wisdom through workshops, classes, and training sessions. A passionate yogi, meditation, and mindfulness coach, Eddie's holistic approach draws from his diverse background. With roots in a music college, he finely tuned his skills as a professional musician, fostering a deep understanding of rhythm, melody, and the mind. Eddie's path took an exciting turn when he discovered the transformative power of movement and mobility. His unique fusion of music, mindfulness, and movement expertise led him to guide individuals finding structure, mindfulness, and vitality in their lives. Through his coaching, he has empowered countless men to embark on their uncommon journey, shaping their lives on their own terms. As a valued member of the Uncommon Success community by Keegan Smith, Eddie's guidance goes beyond the ordinary. His coaching philosophy centers on creating harmonious balance between structure, vision work, mindfulness, and movement, allowing individuals to thrive both mentally and physically. Eddie's impact extends far and wide. He weaves together his musical roots, yoga practice, meditation teachings, and movement expertise into a tapestry of holistic growth. Join Eddie Van Dongen as he ushers you into a life of purpose, balance, and vitality, guiding you on your very own uncommon journey. On today's episode, this is going to be a fantastic chat. We have a chat about Eddie's caravan, all the works that he has in place, and he's such a great energy and guy to have on. So without further ado, let's go. Welcome everybody on today's podcast. I have Eddie Van Dongen, who is a mindfulness, meditation, and movement coach. And he's doing some pretty epic things with a van that he's traveling around in. Just before we came on air, we were just having a chat about what Eddie and his partner are getting up to and what they're beginning to get on the road with. So Eddie, let's start there. What's going on? How's your life progressing right now? Like, what is it that you're up to?
Yeah, so I have this in Holland we call it a caravan. Like it's like this trailer you hang behind your car. And we're gonna do a nice tour around campsites. So we're hopping from campsite to teach workshops and classes like yoga classes with live music, meditations, movement with live music, some Maya Fresh release, all with live music actually, because we're also musicians, and we're just touring from campsite to campsite in Holland the first 2 months. We're gonna leave next week, and then end of August we're gonna travel down to France, Spain, and then go up back to France to teach a retreat where we combine yoga, live music, and climbing together. So I'm also a climber, so we have two friends of mine that are professional climbers that are gonna like guide us through the climbing sessions, and we're gonna add some yoga to to be a little bit more mindful about the climbing and about your body, what it needs when you're climbing.
Oh man, that sounds amazing. I used to do a lot of climbing before I moved to our current area, and yeah, yoga was a very good complementary practice to have. And mate, when I was doing more yoga, my climbing was getting just so much better. Able to get into more routes easily, and yeah, I was loving it. Um, is it the climbing and stuff going to be like traditional climbing or like sport or bouldering?
No, it's mostly bouldering. Yeah,
Nice.
bouldering is kind of our main sport. And the two friends of mine, they've been climbing professionally as bouldering. They also do some traditional climbing, but it's mostly bouldering because we're going to go to an area where there are, like in France, there's this beautiful area where you have so many places to just boulder. They're just it's crazy. It's if you ever been to France or if you're ever going, go make sure that you go to Fontainebleau. It's like a beautiful area where you can,
Go to that
yeah,
area.
climb really awesome stuff.
Oh, amazing. So you're going to be
Yeah.
covering that with your music and yoga over there. Like, so the music will be part of the retreat.
Yeah. We're both musicians as well. So I studied at music college as a drummer, and I play every instrument. It's just something you need to do when you're on music college. And so I studied in my last 2 years, you have to find like a specialization, and I targeted my specialization on psychology and music. So what happens in the brain when you listen to music? And in the end, music is vibrations, right? So we kind of, when I met my girlfriend, she's also a musician. We just kind of brought the music and the movement together, and having that connect with each other or in a meditation or in movement is insane. It just brings this new layer of, um, yeah, this whole new dimension kind of that you can enter when you have the music guiding you through some movements. And it's actually when your brain registers music, the same areas of your brain light up as when you experience emotion. So, because in yoga and meditation, you're also really in touch with your body, your emotions, you feel stuff coming up. The music can really help you to release that and to really get that new dimension of, whoa, what's happening? I'm really in here. So, when that kind of happened during our classes, we just felt like, oh, this is what we love to do the most, right? Bringing our two worlds together and sharing that with people. And yeah, people get just out of the class like renewed, like, whoa, this was a beautiful experience. And yeah, that just kept growing for us. And we felt like, whoa, we want to bring this to more people and to more areas um, of specializations like climbing and uh, movement, because it's such a mindful thing to also be on the wall and climbing. One change of mind and you feel like, oh, what I'm going to eat tonight, and bam, you fall down. It's super mindful. So yeah, we're combining that in the retreat for sure.
So yeah, that kind of theme that's coming through is the mindfulness and the mindful ways of living. And is that always been something that you've kind of been interested in, or was there a catalyst for something that kind of set you on this road?
Yeah, so there was definitely a catalyst when I was studying at music college. So for me, when I go back when I was younger, it was always a question: am I going to do music or am I going to do sports? I was playing soccer, doing martial arts, all kinds of different sports, and I was really good at it, and I'm really dedicated, in climbing as well. I got injured when I was around 16. I tore the tendons between my toes. So normally, like, your toe can go to here, right, and my toe is right all the way here.
Right.
So I couldn't do any sports anymore. I had to rehabilitate for about a year and a half, and then I just started drumming because that was possible. And I I'm someone, when he does something, when I do something, I go 100,000%, right? So I struggled when I was younger always to cope with my frustrations, and to find that balance in not going too far all the time, because that was what's happening all the time to me. So that kept going. And when I started studying at music college, like, 5 people get in every year, right? 5 drummers, that's it. Every year you just get 5. And in Rotterdam, where I studied, it's an international place, right? People from all over the world come to this music college and they want to study here. So that was already a big stressor. Like, I auditioned for 4 years. So the fourth time I auditioned, I got it, right? The first three times they were like, sorry, we don't have any place anymore, you know. So the fourth time I came in, I was like, all right, I'm in and I'm gonna go crazy, right? I'm gonna study every day. I'm gonna study 8 hours a day. So in my second year, I got this theater tour where they asked me like, all right, well, they didn't even ask me. I auditioned for that and I was like, I want to do this. And I came with my band and we got the job. And then they showed us the whole schedule of the tour schedule, right? And it was like playing 7 days a week. It's like, all right, I still have to study, right? How am I going to do it? I'm just going to do it. I'll just do it, right? Because I felt like, oh, I can do everything. I can do anything. So when I was doing that tour, I was still studying every day. I was doing studio jobs. I was doing everything at the same time, and I was in this toxic relationship as well, which was the catalyst or how do you say the word again?
Catalyst?
Catalyst. Yeah, catalyst. That was it. Which it all came together and I just broke down. I just fell into this burnout and I started talking to a psychologist and she's like, all right, pick one thing that you want to do. Pick one thing that you really want to do. So I chose the tour. I was like, all right, I'm gonna do the tour. She's like, all right. And you're gonna start meditating every day. Start with 1 minute, start with 2 minutes, 3 minutes, build it up from there. It's like, okay, all right. So I started meditating, I started doing yoga, I started being more mindful about everything I was doing and talking to her every other week. And I felt kind of growing towards what I am actually doing with my life, you know, that finding that balance and not just being that tough guy trying to push through everything. Because I would always say to myself, man, come on, man, you can do more. But you know, I was doing so much already. So that was really the catalyst for me at that moment. I was like, it was just exploding and all the things that I was doing and still finishing my music college. And then it took me about 2 years before I really felt like, I'm feeling better now, right? It took me 2 years to really get out of that. And when I met Joy, my partner, that was for me the point that I felt like, all right, now things are changing. Because she is a yoga teacher and also a musician, but I kind of lost the whole movement side and the sports side and the mindfulness side, and she kind of lost the music side. So when we came together, it was this connection of whoa, we collide, like it was crazy. And that kind of really pulled me out there, and joining her classes helped me to really get back into touch with my body. So yeah, it's been a crazy journey. So it's not been there always. It's that catalyst which exploded, and then I was like, all right, I need to change something.
Kind of, yeah. You've gone through that mini hero's journey where you've kind of had to refine what you're doing and reestablish yourself. And
Yeah,
it's really like
yeah,
the more people I talk to, it seems that we, especially the people that I've been talking to on the podcast, we all have these moments where there is that moment in time where our foundations kind of get rocked a little bit or a lot, and then it'll set us on some new trajectory that is the path that what we were supposed to be on. And it was just probably nature needed to give you a big shake up and go, this isn't the spot that you're supposed to be. Like, come on, listen to what I'm trying to show
yeah.
you. And this is the way. And yeah, it's been a lot of, that's like what we've spoken about before, even with my own journey and stuff, you know. And it's nice to be able to look back at those moments in time and go, that was that moment that put me in this place. That is where I am now. And you can be thankful for it and not actually living like a dread or like a shame behind it or anything like that. It's like, yeah, if it wasn't for that instance just then, or that moment in time, I could be completely different, or still grinding and grinding and grinding against the grain of life because I'm not listening, or I haven't listened to what is nature or God or whatever it is trying to show you. And with your caravan and with your work that you've been doing, you have this really awesome personality where I feel like it would just be infectious and people just kind of come from like I can envision like almost like you're almost like the Pied Piper. Like I'm sure if you're aware of the Pied Piper story, like the Pied Piper was a really good musician and it would kind of pull people from everywhere and pull
Mm.
the cats and the rats and everything from everywhere and they'd all come, you know. And I get this energy from you, like that. It feels like when these events would occur, like everybody just kind of just really feeling into it. And does the event and stuff that you have or you do um, take like a certain direction? Like, is there a flow behind it? Is like there is like a certain way that you kind of bring people in, kind of like I'm thinking like it must be something like an ecstatic dance or something like that, or is it a little bit different to ecstatic dance?
Yeah, it's not really ecstatic dance. So one thing that we just together really have is that we are really enthusiastic about what we want to share. And you're right, with the energy, we really speak to people. And one thing that's important for us is that I've always been, Dutch people are really direct and they're really, how do you say that? Sober people. They're like really, that spiritual side. Sometimes they find it hard to understand, to really dive deep into that. And for me, mindfulness was really something I could touch, instead of there's beautiful, deep going meditations where you're, the observer and you're connecting with energy and God and all these kinds of different layers, which is a beautiful thing. But for me, that didn't work. I needed to have something that I could touch, that mindful living and that slow living and being aware and being present. That was what helped me. And that's something we both have. And that's something we give to the people. Like it's not about finding the spiritual deepness in, everyone finds that in their own way. And what we really value is that everyone that comes in can be their own person, can do it on their own way. So for example, one of the classes we always start with is a yin yoga class with live music, because that's something people can really they have this warm blanket of just layers of music and these really relaxing positions, which helps them to land into the retreat. So when they come in, we're just we have this own camp where we have our a little kitchen where we have the teas and the coffees, and we have like a little shala. Um, and people always feel super welcome when they come in nature, right? Because we're on campsites. We're not in this big building. It's just a campsite. So people set up their tent or we set up their tent for them. And then they roll into that class with this warm blanket of singing bowls and handpan, and we both sing together. And yeah, they feel like really, really relaxed. And then the second morning, this is one of our favorite classes as well. It's like a flow yoga with just a handpan. So something we really value as well is that if you are your own person, you move in your own way. So you can do the yoga postures, but if it doesn't feel good to you, do it different. Do it just how it feels good to you instead of following that right structure. No, your arm has to be super straight or your leg needs to be there. We don't care.
Yeah.
Just move in a way that feels good to you. And having the handpan join into that class, it's almost like an ecstatic dance, right? We have some moments there where we just tell people, right, just move. Move over your mat, walk over your mat, and just let your body flow on the music. And because she's also been a dancer for a long time. And it just brings everything together where people just feel super free and welcome to be their own person. So that's something we really value on the retreats. And then the live music is always uh, it's never really prepared as well, right? We don't say, all right, I'll swing that singing bowl there, or I'll do this there. We just let it come to us because some people move in a certain way, and I feel like, oh, wait a minute, oh, they're moving pretty fast. All right, I'll play a little bit faster, right? Or they're moving a little bit slower. All right, I'll give them something more relaxed. Or I see that people are tired. All right, I'll give them something more smooth, like a soundscape where they can just groove on and move really well. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. It was a
Yeah,
long
man,
rant, but
absolutely. Like, and it just like Emma and I, we run retreats and stuff as well, and it is that deep potency that you get when you do go on retreat with someone, and you then take, like yourself, you're taking someone on a journey through whatever it is that they're moving through, and just allowing them to be.
Yeah.
So often that we get in life that we're doing and we're doing and we're doing and we're doing, and they just can be themselves. They can be there and just drop in, and they don't have to have any kind of belief system other than just being there, being themselves. And yeah, just even as you're saying, like the handpan just guiding and just kind of just you're just intuitively just reading the room and just taking them on a journey, and they're taking
Yeah.
themselves on a journey. And it's really, if anyone listening, it's such a beneficial thing to be able to go on retreat. Like
Mm.
everybody should take themselves on a retreat at some stage, whether it's once a year or every couple of years. Like if you can be guided
Yeah.
and held by someone like Eddie or ourselves, and you're just going on a journey and allowing yourself to be there, like some of the biggest changes that we've experienced in people that we've had on our journeys, on our retreats, it's just been amazing, seeing changes of lives. Then you look at them a few years down the track, and completely new way of thinking, new businesses, everything. And it just from that
Mm.
moment in time, they came to our retreat and they were ball of stress. They were wondering what they were going to do with their life, and then all of a sudden they've changed. They've had that experience, and it's given them clarity. And not so much even from content that we've
Yeah.
given them; it's more just allow them the space to have that clarity, rather than that the outer world pressures. And yeah, I'd be interested to see whether like you've had that same experience with people that have come, and then you've seen them years down the track or months down the track, and they're living a complete.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh, man. I get goosebumps from just thinking about it because we've had so many beautiful experiences this year and over the last 2 years as well. Our idea is to bring people back to the basics as well. We live in the city, right? And we attract a lot of people from our town as well and from the cities. And we actually started just a little bit of history of how we started this Zen Caravan. We call it the Zen Caravan, because in COVID we weren't allowed to do anything. I wasn't allowed to play any shows. We weren't allowed to teach classes inside. Everything was gone, and we're both freelancers, so we didn't have anything. And the first 2 months were like crazy. We were like crying. We were like, oh, what are we gonna do? And we're kind of lost. And that then Joy came home one day and she's like, Zen Caravan. Like, what? Write it down. And I'm just leaving. Just write it down. All right, all right. And he came home and the whole wall was filled with like these post-its. He's like Zen Caravan, campings, yoga, live music. And we were already teaching some combination of yoga and live music before COVID, but this was, and we did one retreat, and then COVID hit, and we were like, all right, we're allowed to teach outside. We are allowed to go to a campsite and just have people camping with us, and we can just do the classes outside, keep the distance. It's like, all right, let's go. So we booked like a retreat, or we bought a caravan. We painted it pink and turquoise. We called it the Zen Caravan. We have a meditating chicken. That is our like a logo, because the caravan brand is called a chicken. So we were like, all right, if we paint it all over, how are people going to know it's a chicken? So meditating chicken. And our idea was everyone is now in their houses. They're stone houses, and they're all covered with windows and no sunlight. What do we actually want to do when we are older? And our dream was to travel and to teach what we do, and mostly outside. So having that caravan allowed us to go to campsites and helping people to get back to nature, because the slow living concept is something that's lost to a lot of people, because they live in the city. There's always rush. You need to do this and that, and everything is at your disposal through your telephone or through your computer. You can do everything, but how many times or how much time do you spend in nature and actually are being with yourself in the present moment? So to get to your answer, yeah, the slow living concept is something we really wanted to share with people. And on campsite, that was possible. And last year, so there was this guy in one of the retreats 2 months ago. And he came with his girlfriend, and they were super stressed. They had so many stuff going on. And this was a guy, like a tough guy. He's like, I'm the guy. He's always like keeping his emotions to the back. And yeah, he experienced the first class already. He heard the music and he heard us sing, and he just broke down. And he felt so welcome and so warm and so happy that he could experience those emotions. He's like, I never allow that. And here it's possible because you make it possible. You allow me to be myself. And if I want to retreat in my tent, I'm welcome to do that. If I want to lie down and just listen to the music all the time, I can do that. That's beautiful. And that was a 4-day retreat. And after those 4 days, they were like, we feel so renewed and so good in our own bodies again, which gives us strength and energy to go back to our lives, and trying to keep that as well. And that's always the struggle, right? To keep that same energy as the energy you leave with.
Integration.
But having people experience, yeah, exactly. But just having people experience that and sharing that with us, because it's somewhere it's a goal. You feel like, all right, I hope people like it. And we know our values, we know our strengths, and we know we can help people with that. But it's always the question of, are we attracting the right people? Do they really get what we're saying? Do they get the idea? And then hearing that from people, man, that's that warms my heart. It gives me goosebumps every time, because you are really changing people's lives. And that's an amazing feeling. With just being myself and Joy being herself, we are ourselves. We laugh, we have fun, and still we do some serious things, but we allow people to just be, instead of saying, all right, 10 o'clock this, 11 o'clock that. And then we don't plan a full day of a retreat. We have a morning class, we have some breakfast, then if people feel like it, we can do like a afternoon playful session, movement session, just moving with the body. And then they have a few hours of a break just to chill. And then we have an evening session, and then that's it. Like a late night meditation at the campfire. And then there's a lot of space to feel and to be. And that's something we like at retreats, because if a retreat is fully planned, we feel like too obligated to do everything and almost rushing to the next class. So that's something we wanted to share with the people, having that slow living concept and enjoying nature instead of rushing to and through everything. I don't know how you organize your retreats. Is that also with some like free time where people have can explore?
We'll have, yeah, we're the same. Our structure is much the same. Like we will have like blocks of like, okay, we're going to have our morning yoga session or our morning fitness session or movement session, and then breakfast. Then you'll have a space of time whether you can come surfing if you want to go surfing, or if you want to stay here and go to a massage. We're going to have the massage therapist come in. So if you want to do that, you can do that. And then in the afternoon, we'll have our session, some food, and then meditation in the evening, and some chats. So you can either jam pack it with everything, or you can just sit around a pool, or you can sit around in nature and just look at the trees and whatever you want to do. So yeah, we're much the same. You're going to have those bookended days, and depending on the location that we hold it, whether it's a day trip somewhere in the middle of the day, but yeah, much the same, man. Like we when we were running our retreats in Bali, it was a couple of hour practice of yoga in the morning and in the evening, and then in the daytime, if it was a day trip to one of the temples or something like that. Otherwise, people had their spare time, and that's what it is. It's about. It's like being able to allow people just to come and drop in when those sessions are being carried out, and then do what they need to do, whether it's do some processing, do some writing, do some integration of those feelings that have just come up. Because that's when it allows, because if you just I feel also, and we feel as like, if you just put like 9 o'clock yoga, 10 o'clock fitness, 11 o'clock this, like 12, it's no different to living in the city or wherever they're from, and they're just going to each
Yeah.
appointment. And essentially you want to allow them the space to digest, rest and digest. Essentially, they were trying to take them out of that sympathetic nervous system response and drop them back in, and allow them just that time to actually recuperate. And yeah, I feel like that's when you, the biggest thing I've found also with it is then when you get the people who want to do all the activities, that like they want to keep going, they want all the stuff to do, and then trying to get them just to actually slow down and go, this is slow, we're mindfully being here. And like you said, it's that mindful practice of actually taking life a little slower. And then as facilitators, it's kind of on us to show ways to be able to integrate that into life, into back into the real world. Because like you said, it's very hard to come out of a retreat and then you go back to 9 to 5 rat race. And yes, being able to then educate as a facilitator is like, well, these are practices that you could potentially do when you're running from appointment to
Yeah.
appointment, trying to pick up the kids. And yeah, that's one thing, is that the integration I find, especially with a lot of retreats and stuff, whether it's doing like, you just fell off the thing. Yeah, sorry everybody. But yeah, integration's a massive one. And I'd be interested, like, how do you kind of give tools and stuff around integration? Obviously, because you're getting people who are having emotional and somatic kind of releases and stuff like that. Like, for anybody who's listening, who's kind of like, could be that guy who's got, I've got all this tension, I don't really want to go, because there is that potential that I unravel. Like, what would you offer up as advice for someone who could potentially be listening to that and it's like, I don't know, retreats aren't for me because I don't want to go deep, or I don't want to be allowed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's something we always find hard as well if we go to a retreat or a workshop or something, because for us, we are really, I'd say that, we are really skeptic about stuff that other people do because we know what we do works for us. So we sometimes find it hard as well to figure out like, is this the right choice for me? So what I'd always advise is just to get in touch with the people that are organizing the retreats. Just ask them like, hey, this is going on with me. Could you give me some advice, or could I maybe hop on a call with you to feel the energy? I've had that a few times that people were just sending us an email. It's like, all right, let's hop on a call. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. And then giving them a feeling that they know what's going to happen and what they can expect really helps them out. So if there's someone here that might feel like, I'm not sure if I want to do this, or, get in touch with the retreat host and ask them and tell them what's going on and ask them what you can expect. And for us, we find it important to give them the tools after. So we always send like an email with some information and some tools that they can use, or how to integrate that mindfulness into their daily lives. And we actually made this like little ebook where what we send after our retreat to people, where they can go through some of the exercises that we did, so that if they feel stressed, or they feel like, oh man, I'm back in that rat race, grab that book and find the tools, like, oh right, I could do like some breathing meditation for maybe 1 or 2 minutes, which will bring my system down again and feel the balance again. So we are really aware of that, for sure, that we want to help people to give them the tools after, because just a weekend can be really intense, and then getting back into the normal life can be also really intense, and then after a few days you're back at it. So we always try to give them some tools after, and we always open up for people that maybe after a week you feel some emotion come up as well. And yeah, just get in touch with us, right? if you have ever joined our retreat, you're always welcome to get in touch with us and share something that had come up. So yeah, that's important. We value that as well.
Absolutely, man. And that's great having that little ebook and stuff that you give, because yeah, it's quite easy to kind of, when you're on retreat, kind of get swept up in it and do one thing and then you do the next and you're like, what was that practice? That was really resonated with me. Like I want to do that again. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
With your mindfulness and your mindfulness practices, your meditation, how do you structure that? Like what would, if you were doing a meditation, how do you presenting that to people? Is it guided? Is it well, obviously it's guided, but how are you structuring it? Is it themed? Do you put it to something, like, again, like you said, intuitively? Are you kind of just reading the room? What how do
Yeah.
you yeah how do you do it?
Yeah, actually all of that. For example, with a retreat, um, what I do on retreats is that the first evening meditation after dinner is going to be always is a intention meditation. So I invite people to set an intention. It's guided, but I always give some room to explore for themselves. So there's always a few moments of silence where they can really be with themselves. Because we always have some people that are new to meditation, but also some more experienced meditators. So it kind of depends on what the mood is as well, how much like silence time I have in there. But so we have an intention meditation, so to help them understand, like, why am I here? Do I actually have a reason or an intention to be here, or do I just want to be this retreat, which is all fine, right? I help people to find that intention, and if they have one, to set it for that weekend, and that intention is always with them. And then in the mornings, I'd always do some breathing exercises, like box breathing or whatever is present at that time, or I feel like, oh, this is what the group needs. I'll do some breathing exercises to start up the meditation, and then we do really some observing. So the only thing I do then is just to explain to them, like, hey, the mindfulness we're going to practice here is going to be observing the sounds, the sensations, the breath, and you can always use the breath as an anchor. That's, for me, that really works, using the breath as an anchor. And then simply observe what is happening. And every time you get distracted or you're kind of into a sound and you realize that, you bring it back. And I always help people to see that as a little victory, because people might feel like, oh, I'm doing it wrong. I'm distracted. I'm doing it wrong again. Shit, I'm not good at meditating. No, it's not about that. It's not about doing it right or wrong. It's about that moment where you lose the attention, lose the awareness, and you can bring it back without any judgment, with a smile on your face. That's something we do in the morning, right? I give a little bit more free space, and I just let people experience that feeling. And um, the second night, it kind of that's when I read the room a little bit more, where I have them maybe listen to sounds around the campsite and explore the hearing a little bit. And the last night is always a gratitude meditation. So, saying to yourself, thank you, and saying to the other people, thank you for yourself, thanking the world, thanking the place where we are, because it's not every day you can do this. It's not normal, so to say, for everyone to do or experience something like this. So being thankful for that, and it's also something I have experienced, is really powerful, because I'd be used to be like really hard for myself all the time. You should do better. You should do more. I didn't do enough today, and I kept going like that. And then my psychologist used to say, it's like, what are you thankful for today? And what have you done today that you're proud of? Or where are you actually? How much did you play? She was actually, her family was also, were also drummers. That was funny. So she could really help me out to find out, like, hey, but thank yourself, man, for what you're doing. Look at what you're doing. Look at where you are. stop for a moment and thank yourself for doing this, and for allowing yourself to do this, and give yourself, tap yourself on the shoulder, like, well done, man, you're doing great. And that's something I always do the last night. So overall, the retreat, we have a few themes that we want to touch on, and then from there we kind of feel like, what do people really want, and by talking to people, I love to talk to all the people. Every dinner we sit at a different place on the table, so just that we can talk with different people, and then you get to know people a little bit, and you can play with that in your classes for your meditations. So yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. One thing is like, it's one thing that's kind of standing out for me there. It feels very safe and supported, and that's one thing that I don't know if you've ever experienced where you go to certain kind of public meditation events and stuff like that, and the person's up there leading a meditation, and you just feel like they're opening people up because they're on a festival stage or whatever it is, and then nothing gets closed down, and just people just walking around just going, oh, what the hell just happened? I've just opened myself up. And I think it's great as a practitioner. What I'm hearing from you is like, you're actually reading the room, you're able to hold people and hold that space and allow people to move through it, but then have that container for them to then be able to either close it down and process. And that's where I think this is my opinion, I think a lot of people get kind of put off by meditation, because they'll have these people who kind of draw them into a certain way, and they get released, have all this kind of emotion release, they have energy release, and they don't know how to handle it. And the meditation teacher, the guide, doesn't actually hold that container, and it kind of spills out everywhere. And another thing I just want to touch on there was like, one thing I always tell people with meditation, it's like you said before, like good or bad. It's not a good or bad meditation. There's no such thing as a good or bad meditation. It's like we reframe it as gratifying and ungratifying. So when we begin to rewire the brain and actually not saying good or bad, but it was like, today was an ungratifying meditation because there was noise, my head was just, I couldn't come back to the breath, I couldn't come back to my mantra. So, but today was a really gratifying, my afternoon meditation was really gratifying. I was off in the cosmos and I just wasn't thinking anything, and I feel completely different. And that way, then we were able to then begin to rewire the thought patterns of meditations, good or bad. And we then can just accept, like you touched on before, we accept the meditation for what it is. It's just allowing the body to be there, the mind to be there where you are right now, and coming back. And I'm really, I'm glad that you're on the same path and you're on the wavelength of like really allowing people to have that concept. And another tip, just on that again, is like, when you're meditating, I like to think of it as in the gym, when we do a pull up in the gym, or like if you go rock climbing and the first time you try rock climbing, your fingers kind of get all crampy and you don't last too long on the wall and you fall off. But the next time you go into the rock climbing wall, you go into the gym, you do a pull up, or you stay a little bit longer on the wall, and your fingers aren't as sore, and you're able to do a couple of pull ups. It's the same thing. And the more times you continue to keep getting on the wall, you're getting on those pull up bars, you're getting more reps in. And it's the same thing with the mind. Every time the mind wanders and comes back to the breath, that anchor, it's a rep. And the more you continue to polish this, then your mind then goes, okay, cool, this is where I have to. I've wandered. Okay, I've got to come back. It's like that little puppy that disappears and goes into the neighbor's yard. Come on, puppy, come back here. I think that's when people can begin to realize that it's okay that your mind just wanders off, but you need to come back here. Come on, come back here. And that, like you said, not charging, not casting any judgment on it.
Yeah, man. And what I always feel is that my experience was that I wanted to control the whole thing every time. I wanted to hold on, like, damn it, I got distracted again, and then I get really uptight, right? And that's one thing I also learned, for example, with I'm just thinking of my drumming technique. So the more I squeeze the stick, the worse it's going to sound and the worse it's going to be to play. But the more relaxed I am, the chance is bigger that the stick will fall. But it doesn't matter because I'm loose and smooth and everything sounds better, everything feels better. So the more relaxed you can be as well with that situation of acceptance, the better you can actually enjoy it, right?
Mm.
And without thinking, oh, I'm doing it wrong, because it doesn't matter. It's just about that rep. It's training the mind. It's sometimes a hard concept for people to grasp as well, what meditation is. And that's why I just love mindfulness. It's super easy to start with, and it's understandable of what are you doing, right? What
Mm.
are you doing in the moment? And that's what I find is really nice on the retreats as well, because it's always something people, yeah, really enjoy on doing.
Yeah,
Is there
absolutely.
something you feel like with your meditations? Do you have a
No,
certain meditation you always touch on?
I agree with you there. Like, it's when the mindfulness meditation or the being technique that we teach, the overarching goal for it is having the eyes open experience being a pleasant one. And so it's like the meditation is the gym that allows your mind to do the work and processing of everything that you do, to then move mindfully and in a state of being in life. And so when we again, like, one of my biggest like realizations for myself when I began to meditate really regularly was, there was one road that I used to always drive to work, and it was always gridlock, and there'd be people cutting in on you, and I'd just be like white knuckling, going, "Oh my god, just get out of the fucking way!" Like, or don't, this is my lane, and just blowing up. But then I started like meditating, and people, this one road would just be like, "Yeah, cool, move on in." Like, come on, but yeah, that's fine. No worries, I'll get there soon enough. I should have probably left earlier. Like, it's on me to actually leave earlier. If I know this,
Yeah,
I know this road is always busy. I should probably start making a
yeah,
change. So I was like, like, what is actually occurring here? And then it, like, other things started to present themselves, and but also then life started showing me things that I was wanting but couldn't get, because I was gripping hold of those drumsticks so tight that I couldn't actually get what I actually
yeah,
wanted. So I was letting go of it, and I was actually starting to find that flow state in most things in life. Like, things just presented themselves. And that's kind of like, even when I met Emma, like, I was in this really good flow, like, of life. I was just loving life, doing yoga,
mm,
lifting weights, moving, dancing, all the kind of things, and just like going on climbing trips and everything. I was just happy. I was really happy with myself. And then,
yeah,
like, much like your story, like, Emma just kind of presented herself. She's a yoga and meditation teacher. Our powers combined, and then we created a. Now we're creating a family, but we created a retreat business, and much like your story, and like,
yeah,
I feel that when, and a lot of people I've taught and stuff, they put a lot of pressure on themselves to have that eyes closed experience be the meditation. I personally feel meditation is what happens when the eyes are open. We're just in the mind gym when we got our eyes closed, and we're doing the mind gym stuff, and then all of a sudden we just go out and do what we need to do. I don't know how you feel. What's your thoughts on
yeah. It's such a, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I feel both. So closing your eyes can be a really beautiful experience, but
it?
opening your eyes, and with I was part of this movement group for a while, and we used to meditate on like an open area somewhere in the city where everyone's just walking by, and just keep your eyes open. And kids would walk in front of you, and they're like, "What are you doing?" You know, and, and that's so much fun, because that's where the really, you're really applying that mindfulness technique, because once you're somewhere out there, you still want to have that inner calmness, and the decision of engaging in something or not. And
Mm.
I used to, when I was getting more into that, I walked. So I lived in the center of the city a few years ago, and then I'd walk up to like, we have this big fountain in the middle of the city where there's a lot of tourists and a lot of trains going by, buses, cars, bikers, and I just sit there. I find a spot there and just sit there. And I just be and just look around, and without engaging in anything, I just take the whole situation up in my mind and my body, and just, yeah, I love that, just
Yeah.
being in that moment and enjoy it, just doing nothing, man. That's an art. And finding that changed my life for me, because I would used to be so rushed all the time and trying to grab everything and control everything, and being stressed out if I'm in a busy environment. I still don't like to be in the city center, or
Mm.
like, in a crowded place. I just don't really like that anymore. But when I come there, I try to find that inner balance and that inner calmness, so I'm in my own energy, which allows me to just be, instead of you know being focused on everything that's happening around you, just letting it go and pass by, like clouds in the sky, or like a river that's passing by. It's just, come on, just go. And that's the biggest change for me, what mindfulness brought. And it started by just starting to meditate with 1 minute,
Mm.
and then being aware, and then 2 minutes, and building that up. And yeah, man, that really brought balance back into my life. And I still feel that feeling of the burnout if I get stressed. I still get that same feeling in my shoulders and my body, and I feel like, all right, now I need to take a break. And I'm way better at saying this is enough. That's what it changed
Mm.
for me a lot. Is I used to say yes to everything and just go, 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 go. And now I can feel much better. I'm way more in touch with my body, because before I was just going, not thinking, and just,
Mm.
I don't know, just keeping, trying to juggle everything, and you know, understanding what my body is telling me
Yeah.
is yeah, that's been a life-changing moment. And finding someone who can help you with that, taking those small steps, because everyone's different.
Mm.
Maybe some person sits down and he feels like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever after 30-minute meditation. But a lot of people, they come out of the 30 minutes meditation and feel like, oh my God, that was so hard, or
Yeah.
I didn't really understand what to do. It's like, oh, is this your first time? Yeah, yeah. All right, start with 2 minutes, man. Don't
Mm.
go to a 30-minute meditation. Or if someone's really guiding you to 30 minutes, yeah, it could be a challenge. But just starting really small, yeah, for me, that's the key. And that's what I try to give to the people at the retreats as well. Like, if you want to do this in your life, well, don't go saying, oh, I have to meditate 30 minutes every day, because that's probably too much in your busy life. So
Mm.
why don't you start with just a 2-minute break before you go home, right? After a busy day of work, get in your car, do a 2-minute breathing exercise. Just control, let go and balance out, and you know, relax for a little bit and be in the moment, and then go home, which is, can change a lot for people that are just running from A to B all day.
Mm. Absolutely, man. And it's like it's those low hanging fruits, and then eventually, like, you start adding on those extra minutes, and then eventually it's like, cool. I actually, rather than me sitting on the phone for 30 minutes scrolling on Instagram or something, I now, you now see, okay, I could actually be better spending this time. I haven't meditated today. I'll put the phone down and let's do 15 minutes of meditation, and it becomes a lot easier once you've allowed yourself that space to learn and um, to move through it at a smaller rate. And I found also, I've discussed with other people prior, and it's we get coaches. We get coaches for movement. We go to our band teacher. We go to all different kinds of coaches, and very few people actually enlist the help of a meditation teacher or a meditation guide or a meditation coach. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and there's that kind of, they fall off the wagon and then they don't come back on. And I know myself when I was PT, when I'm PTing and stuff like that, or when I was PTing face to face a lot. And that's one of the main reasons why I became a meditation teacher. Was like a lot of my clients would reach a certain point with their training or with their whatever their goals, and there'd be some kind of roadblock put in place, whether it was some sort of life thing that would throw them off into another direction, or a
Mhm.
learning, a prior learning would start to play out, or a pattern, and it would be a sabotage or something would come into play. And that's one of the reasons why I ended up
Yeah.
becoming a meditation teacher, was because I wanted to be able to guide people through that, get them to that next level. And I feel there's such value in having a meditation teacher who you can go to and say, "Hey, Eddie, like I had a meditation this morning and it was really kind of rough. Like, what do you think? Like, what do you think is happening?" And then you could say, "Well, obviously, I always triage it. Like obviously, if it's escalated to a point where they probably might need to see someone else to talk about it, or if it's something that I can offer
Mhm.
my wisdom and knowledge on, then I'll always offer it. And it's much like when you're in the gym and it's like, these back squats feel terrible today. Like I have no energy and blah 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 blah. Like, maybe let's back your program off, or let's try and change something different, or look at your movement pattern. And I don't know like, what's your thoughts on having like as a meditation coach or a meditation teacher on your side?
Yeah, yeah, man, I definitely agree. I love to do guided meditations as well, because I like to have that guidance from times. I love, for example, it's not that I have direct contact with him, but doing the Waking Up app, doing the meditations of Sam Harris, I
Mm,
love that because I get guided through that. And I'm lucky to have all kinds of people that are in a similar
mm,
kind of uh, work field, right? Where I can talk to, like, oh, this is something I'm struggling with. What would you recommend, or what are you doing? Just sharing this. But I always have people, um, uh, especially when it's their first time, asking, like, oh, this was a really nice meditation. I use some sound most of the times. And I noticed that there isn't a thing yet like having a PT, like having a meditation teacher where you can go to. But I like the idea of having that, because it's a similar training. Like it's the gym of the mind, where you have a PT that's helping you with your squat form, or saying you or giving you a program. It's just as good to have a program on meditation, right? Or reading a certain book that really explains, like,
mm.
aha, that's how I do mindfulness, right? But there's no one way. So having someone who can understand
The
what
different
is
ways, yeah.
happening in the body, yeah, that can help, make the experience of meditation so much better for you, because there is not one way to meditate.
Mm,
There's so many ways, and what works for me doesn't work for you, or the other
mm,
way around. So having someone that has a little bit more, kind of an overview of, like, hey, but have you tried this? This morning you were doing this and that wasn't working for you, but what if you do this,
mm,
or maybe that, or maybe combine these two in one meditation and see how that works for you.
mm,
It's making that program personal for the person that needs
mm,
some structure, or doesn't really um doesn't really like to do meditation on their own.
mm.
So yeah, I definitely agree that it should be, it's a good thing to have someone guiding you with that and making a meditation program for your understanding how to meditate.
Absolutely, man. With your so when does your retreat begin? When's this next one start?
So the next, like, retreat is going to be July 10th, and it's going to be 5 days. But this is going to be more like, people are now. So normally we would book a whole retreat and it's just us, and we have our own space on the campsite. But the next week is going to be where people just book the campsite and then they can book the Zen arrangement, or like how do you say that? They can book our classes with that.
Cool.
I just really lost the English word. Um, yeah, I can't come to the word, but they can book like our classes for the whole week,
Oh,
but
like
they
a
still have
package.
their own spot on the campsite.
Yeah.
A package. Yeah. Zen package. That's what they're booking with us. So this is going to be a new tryout where there will be people spread over the whole campsite, and everyone they can book their classes with us, and they have a morning yoga class and an evening yoga class uh, every day, and they have one special workshop in midweek on Wednesday with some breathing. We're bringing someone in to do like a nice breathwork session. So
Nice.
that's going to be the next session, and then after that, we're just going to tour around from campsite to campsite to teach classes and workshops for people that are already on the campsite. So we're making
Cool.
their holiday a little bit more zen by bringing us to them. So everyone that's on the campsite can join. And then the climbing retreat is going to be in September.
Oh, wonderful. That's cool, man. The
Yeah.
how do people like how do they know when you're showing where you're going to show up? Like how would someone obviously get onto one of your actual retreats, but then also someone who's kind of
Yeah.
are you just going to let me know. How do you do it?
Yeah. So we get in touch with campsites and they promote it on their website, or they hang up some posters or um, papers where they can write their name on already, so they know, oh, that week the Zen Caravan is going to be here, right? And also we just keep promoting it on yoga schools here in The Hague, in our own city, and our website, of course, in social media, so zencaravan.com and zen.caravan on Instagram is where we post our whole journey. So we'll post every week like, okay, we're going to be here, or this is our whole tour schedule, so that people can book the campsite in that time frame so that they can join our classes. And from there, we're also doing a few like day retreats here on the beach, which is we live in
Nice.
a beach town, which is really nice. So we're going to do um, 2 day retreats, one in July and one in August. Um, and that's mostly from the yoga schools where Joy teaches
Yeah.
and through our social media, man. That's our reach is going is growing a little bit more, and we're really thankful for that, because we can, reach more people and share that what we want to share, and
Mm.
help people to become more mindful, to live a better life.
Hey, that's epic. Like Um, the Zen Caravan is such a cool idea. That's one of the like we've spoken. You and I have spoken privately, and it's one of the reasons why we actually bought our bus. Is pretty much like what you're doing, but we're gonna do it in our bus. We show up at
Yeah,
campsites or do events around, and it's such a nice way to actually be able to obviously travel, but then also kind of get
yeah,
people doing their thing and um, yeah, it's I think it's just a wonderful thing you guys are doing, and obviously getting to experience it together um, is really cool. Um,
yeah, yeah. Thanks, man.
where else? So you've mentioned the Zen Caravan and everything like that. Where can anybody else kind of meet up with you, catch up with you, get in contact?
Yeah, on zencaravan.com, and we're actually working on creating some new online format where people from all over the world could join us on the things that we do. So some new ideas are coming pretty soon in August, and zencaravan.com, and then on social media, it's going to be zen.caravan on Instagram, where they can follow our journey. For now, this season, we're going to stay in Holland, France, and Spain, but next year it's going to be more through a whole of Europe. So
Oh, mate, that would
yeah,
be
it's going to be a
cool.
beautiful journey, and we're really happy to get out there and reach more people. That's our dream, to
We
be
might
able
have to get
to
we might
travel
have
the
to get
world.
a flow caravan and get out there with you on the road in Europe.
Yeah, man, that would be awesome. Yeah, yeah.
All right, man. Thank you so much for coming on. Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you. And if I don't
Yeah,
speak to you before, have a great beginning of your trip, and I'll see you on the web.
thanks, man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun, man. Have a good night.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's show. I hope you enjoyed that chat with Eddie. If you want to catch up with Eddie, I'll pop all of the details where you can book in, see, and catch up with him in his travels in the caravan with his partner Joy. If you liked today's episode, can you please take a moment to rate and review the show to really help me bump up the ratings and up the standings in the algorithm? That would be much appreciated. Thank you so much for listening.